Hello everybody, today we're going to take a look at this. I've made this video in kind of honour of Mickey. I'll show you. I don't think Roy would mind me showing you this, but anyway, so a couple of days ago Roy sent me that and he sent me a song, Flat Earth song. So I put it and I said, I like Martin because obviously Mickey was so into Martin. We watched a lot of that guy. So that's why I hope he doesn't mind if I've used a bit of his video, because Mickey was one of your #1 fans, Martin, even though he's now gone. Because obviously Martin won't have known him personally, but Martin, Mickey loved your channel. We watched loads of your stuff, all the stuff with canals in it. He loved it. Anyway, so basically what it was is Roy says, Mickey shared it with me 5 years ago. It's a good one. Thought you would like it. Thank you, Roy. And look, the message from Mickey. Where is it? There's my Mickey sending it to Roy 5 years ago. I didn't know him then. It says 5 years ago, but he sent that link to Roy. So this is going to be our video today because Mickey loved all this stuff. He loved it so much. He was Mr. Tartaria. He loved the old buildings and everything. So thank you to Martin, thank you to Roy, and to my lovely Mickey. Thank you, Mickey. Yeah, he's still helping me with my videos. Anyway, let's play a bit of Martin.
Hello, my name is Martin and welcome back to another video. I'm in the town of Middleton, just to the north of Manchester, and I'm going to show you something at the top of this little lane that I'm on here now. I'm going to show you Tonge Hall. Now this place is incredible. I'm going to turn the camera around, let you go first, and you can see what I'm about to see at the top of this lane. Just behind the fence there, that is Tonge Hall, as you've just seen. Probably one of the most saddest places we'll ever look at on these videos. When you do the research on it, you try and look up how old it is. The dates come in at around about 1584. Yeah, 1584, can you believe? And obviously you've looked at it, it's a Tudor style timber framed old hall. It's in a very sad state at the moment because in 2007 some yobs got in and set fire to it and caused extensive damage. Just prior to that, the owner, who was an elderly gentleman, had moved out, left the place empty, and then the yobs got in and set fire to it. There was a breach in the fence, I'll be honest with you, and I managed to get in there. Now, considering that somebody got in there and torched the place, me going in there with a camera I don't think is a bad thing, and I wanted to record it for you and show it to you. I initially went in there to just take pictures, but it turned out that I needed to make a video of it. It's a bit of a time capsule. Obviously it's a very old place, but it's only a time capsule because the previous owner's stuff, some of it is still in there. I think it's been stood empty for about 15 years, so what you'll see in there is from the owner before, and it's all been there for just over a decade.
It is so sad that this house is in this disrepair with all that beautiful work on it. Looks like that one's closed up as well next door. He says they can't knock it down, that they're going to have to rebuild it. But what a beautiful house it was. And unfortunately it's got all this over, obviously to stop more rain getting in, but it's been burnt and damaged, unfortunately. There it's saying that it was torched. So sad, isn't it? Well, when this guy Martin looks up the age of the wood is a lot older than the age of the hall that they're saying the age of the hall is. He's saying the wood was cut in the 1400s. I think that was Henry VI was on the throne when the wood was cut for this house. But just look at the detail that this house, even though it's broken, it's come this far with still all this beautiful detail on it. A most amazing house. I think it got a bit refurbished in the 1800s. Maybe, you know, bits like obviously building this and these bits maybe, I don't know, but it's a beautiful house. Or should I say was a beautiful house. Such a shame, isn't it? Such a shame. And those bits I was showing you, these all burnt out here. Look, because it's been burnt. But a most amazing house. You see this here? This is a big ingle nook fireplace with another fireplace inside of it. Look, it's like a room inside there, underneath the fireplace. This is an ingle nook fireplace. Absolutely enormous. And however old this house is, and if it does go back, well, maybe it's had a bit of alteration, but look, there's bricks in there. Yeah, what a beautiful fireplace with like a room in there and then another fireplace in there. Wow.
So the timeline on this place is absolutely staggering. And of all the information I found this report, and it was a tree ring analysis of Tonge Hall and the timbers. Apparently they took samples from the timbers in the hall, looked at the rings from the trees that they were cut from and dated them. Now, the first fact is that in 1580, when this place was built, it was Queen Elizabeth I that was on the throne. It's just staggering, isn't it? But they found that some of the timbers, or the earliest timbers that were cut, dated from 1449. The latest timbers from the original build was 1687. As we know, that the place was altered during the course of its history, but 1449, 1687, the earliest timbers. 1449, that was Henry VI that was on the throne when those trees were cut. It's absolutely incredible, isn't it? And it's always the case when you go to these places. You look at the house and you think, well, if that place is old, the timbers that built it must be even older.
This is my mum and dad's house. It is a hall. It used to look more like that when they first bought it, and over the time, obviously my dad died last year, but inside my mum and dad's house it looks like this. It's a most gorgeous house. It's in the middle of nowhere, absolutely gorgeous. It's been for sale, but it had a corridor like we're just going to see. It goes from their bathroom corridor into their bedroom, just like this house. And this one here was built, if not earlier, the same time as this one. So if this, say, was my mum and dad's house in that hall, this here was the bathroom. You've got a corridor just like that, and my dad put back a medieval window just there, and then that was my mum and dad's bedroom. That is exactly the same. I know it's going to probably be alike, whatever, but, you know, I'm looking at my mum and dad's house in this one, and in the and this was built all that time ago, in the maybe 14 to 1500s, because the wood was cut then. Yeah, it's crazy that, isn't it?
Wow, did you see that wall? Did you see the wall with the reeds in it? What was it called? That was it wattle and daub, where they used to weave like a reed mat and put it between the timber frames and then put mud on it to form a wall. They don't do that anymore, do they? And if you notice the scaffolding over the house and the kind of the cover, that's just to protect it. It's grade 2 listed, but it's marked down at risk. Now, it's not going to get pulled down or anything, but it's at risk of further deterioration. I think there's a wrangle between English Heritage and Rochdale Council as to who's going to put money into to do it up, basically. It would take millions, because you can't just, you've got to be faithful to the original build. What's going to happen to the house, I don't know. I've put together, I'd love to tell you the social history of the house and tell you stories of what happened in the house, but I can't do that.
Thank you very much, Martin, for doing all the homework and finding out the history and who owned this Tonge Hall. Yes, absolutely amazing that those beams could go back to 1449. What he's saying is that if you take the later date, she was on the throne. And if you take the earlier date of the 1400s, it would mean Henry VI was on the throne. I mean, that is quite a long time ago, isn't it? And I bet it's back there, if not even older.
It was built in 1584 by Christopher Tonge. In 1638, Christopher Tonge leaves the house to Richard Tonge, and he marries May Wollstonecraft. Now, remember these names because you might be related to some of them. You might own Tonge Hall, who knows, eh? So Richard and May leave the house in 1678 to Jonathan. He then leaves it to another Richard Tonge, and Richard Tonge marries Alice. This is now 1703. And Richard and Alice in 1703 do some considerable alterations to the house.
There it is. This must have been the report, or one very similar to this. It says there that obtained timbers in different parts of Tonge Hall produced a single dated site chronologically comprising 38 samples with an overall length of 239 rings. These rings were dated as spanning the year 1447 to 1687. I don't understand why it's 200 years of history, but it means that those timbers could go back to 1449 or just after that. The interpretation of the sapwood on the dated sample indicates that the roof, first floor frame and structural timbers of the hall range, as well as the roof and stair timbers of the crosswing, were all cut from a single programme between 1589 and 1614. So that bit's a little bit older then, isn't it? A ground floor fireplace, Breshama, whatever that is, fireplace, Breshama, of the hall range has an estimated felling date of AD 1609 to 1634. It's a bit strange how this one is a much smaller bit than this one up here. But anyway, while the timbers of the first floor partition wall have an estimated felling date of 1640 to 1665, the latest date timbers on the floorboards of the cross-wing attic have an estimated felling date in the range of 1687 to 1722. So these rings were dated spanning the years 1449 to 1687. That's amazing, isn't it?
I've since learned, since I was at the house, that Richard and Alice either carved or had the names on one of the downspouts. I presume that's one of the gutters. Seen it, there's an R and A 1703 marked on one of the downspouts in the house. Unfortunately, I didn't know that at the time, so I couldn't show it you. So Richard and Alice did all that work, but then in 1726 it's bought by John Starkey of Haywood. John Starkey then leaves it to James Starkey. It looks like James has got no immediate children, so it's left to an Anne Hornby and a Joseph Langton. Now in Middleton we have a Hornby Street and a Langton Street, so possibly named after them. Throughout the 1800s the house has many tenant farmers and it passes through many hands, and around that area it is all fields still really, and obviously imagine back in the 1800s it was farms. 1890, a Tonge comes back to the house. William Asherton Tonge buys the house. Now he's a bit of a collector and is into his art, and he's got a collection that you can still go and see at Chetham's Library in Manchester. I've not seen it. I must make a point of going there and having a look. Oh, by the way, William Asherton Tonge offers the house as a museum to the township of Middleton, but they refuse it because they can't afford the house and they can't afford to run it as a museum. Remember the Wollstonecrafts in the 1600s, May Wollstonecraft? Well, I'm thinking now we're much later on in the 1900s, because an Albert Wollstonecraft, who was the mayor of Middleton, now buys the house, and he right up to date now, leaves it to his son, Captain Norman Wollstonecraft, and he was the last owner. From what I've last read, he is now a pensioner, and he's moved out of the house and he's not in the town at all anymore. And when he moved out around about 2007, that is when the house fell into disrepair. Vandals got in and set light to the place. So there you go. That's a potted history of the house.